the miracle ass.
Good camera work.
I want you to fire me. You fucking mark!
Greetings, Scrapple fans, and welcome to the only space that's safe for all wrestling fans, whether you're laps, casual, obsessed, or ashamed. I'm Brett Davis, joined by Rob Pasbani. You just watched the show.
Cue the graphics.
Press play. There's the magic finger. Pressing down. Yeah.
The Wrestling Club with Darren and Brett. We've got a show that you'll never forget.
We are leaving the arena. It is still very much the daytime, which is a surreal thing for two people.
It's like we left a matinee movie, but it's AEW Dynamite.
Tell me what you thought of this show. It was historic.
Look, I'm gonna brag a little. I went to Double or Nothing, so I was on the fence about coming to this show because it's like, how could it top Double or Nothing? Now it certainly didn't top Double or Nothing, but it was a great next chapter, and I feel like that MJF promo, like people are gonna be talking about that for years.
Yeah, really.
If not weeks.
Certainly days. I could guarantee
At
that.
least a few hours.
Yeah. We had Tanahashi debut.
That was cool.
That was fun. Hair looked on point. Daniel Garcia had a fun match with Jon Moxley.
Yeah, it was good. It was a notable Dynamite, I feel. Still gonna see House of Black.
Yeah, there's a lot of people not on the show.
Yeah, the Death Triangle. Lots of guys on the pay-per-view were not. But I mean, there's only so much you could fit in.
Your podcast, Squared Circle Pit.
Go to squaredcirclepit.com. I interview metal musicians and rock musicians about wrestling and wrestlers about what kind of music they like.
And we had a celebrity sighting, metal adjacent.
Oh yeah. So Tom Morello and his son in the bathroom. Tom Morello asked his son to wash his hands. That's nice.
Tom Morello washes his hands.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like he's raging against the bathroom machine. He's following all the rules there. And now, here's our interview with Royce Isaacs of Team Filthy.
From the Mile High City, now residing in Los Angeles. 0.5%, the West Coast Wrecking Crew, a member of Team Filthy, the Mile High Samurai, former NWA Tag Team Champion, former DDT Heavy Metalweight Champion. Definitely want to talk about this. Royce Isaacs, welcome. You're the newest member of the Wrestling Club.
Hey, well, thank you for welcoming me into the club. I don't belong to a lot of clubs, so it's nice to get some membership here.
I mean, I just mentioned you're like part of multiple clubs. That was part of the intro.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry. I get brain damage sports, so
this is
short
true.
memory.
This is true. How
That's only like 3 or 4 clubs. How many clubs are you in?
Well, there's Wrestling Club.
Yep.
Some of your clubs are clubs within clubs.
Yeah, it's like subsets and all this other stuff, and yeah.
Well, we're gonna get into it. On this show, we really encourage you to shoot hard. So I can put that in all caps in the title. Maybe get some Simon Gotch action going here.
Yeah.
You have such an incredible career. I definitely want to talk about a lot of these things, but also we're gonna watch some clips in a little bit. We've both brought some of our favorite clips. But for this, I wanted to do something, a new segment. I'm gonna try beta testing a new segment on you.
Let's go.
It's called This Is Your Cage Match. Referring to, I'll add in some music, maybe.
There we go. And if you're listening to the audio, I was looking very shocked.
You really saw. I'm talking to a wrestler here. I'm also referring to my cat as if he's my sidekick. Cage Match, of course, referring to the German website that psychotically categorizes every wrestling event that's ever happened.
Actually, it's better now, but there's a lot of stuff that's missing. Like if it's like, for whatever reason, if it's not on its radar, not necessarily even some of my like what you consider smaller regional stuff, but like I think like Championship Wrestling from Hollywood wasn't on there for a long time. They're much better now, but it is very like crazy how much stuff that they have. Especially, I didn't even know it was a German website, but that's even kind of more wild that they're that like in tune with everything.
yeah. Is there anything missing? Is there anything that you're like, why didn't they address my match with Barry Horowitz?
My match with Barry Horowitz. I'm really sad it's not on it. No, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but like, I'm sure I know that I don't know. I think my cage match says I have like under 200 matches or something like that, and it's like, no, I surpassed that in like my first couple of years probably. But I mean, it's fine that they don't have the Taco Fest 2015 in there. That's all right.
well, let's jump into it. It's not on my list, but I got to know about Taco Fest.
Taco Fest actually is a freaking blast. I mean, there's a lot of different Taco Fest wrestling events, but I'm specifically referring to the one in Denver that Nick Gossert from Lucha Libre and Laughs will run wrestling at this Taco Festival every year. They might have stopped doing that, but I know the Taco Festival still exists. The Denver Taco Festival. It's like, if you want to get like all kinds, they have all these like trucks pull up, and there's like super authentic stuff. There's like Pan Asian fusion tacos. There's all kinds of that going on, and then there's also like live wrestling, which can be hit or miss with like a non-wrestling crowd, but they have enough people there. Plus, it's like only the people that want to watch the wrestling go to the wrestling. It's not like they shut down everything else. So I find in non-wrestling fan settings that's always like optimal of just like people who actually want to be there and aren't like I did a show at the Coyote Ugly like my first year in, and people were just like, "But we want to see girls with the boobs on like the movie, like Dance on the Bar," and we're like, "How about a body slam?" And they're like, "No." So yeah. Anyways, Taco Fest is great.
Yeah, as a comedian, I can definitely I understand.
Yeah. I ordered my
Ambush shows,
mozzarella
we call them.
sticks. Yeah. Ambush shows. Yeah.
Well, speaking of, you mentioned Lucha Libre and Laughs. This is where I want to start, and this is where our paths once crossed before. Not sure if you how well you remember this, but this is going back to 2016. Ratio Beer Works.
Yes.
It was part of the Crom Comedy Fest. It was Lucha Libre and Laughs. You wrestled Jay Sin, and in your corner was none other than me, Brett Davis, under the guise of Bobby Blaze.
Yes.
BLAYZE. Do you have any memory of this?
I think it was for this match. Didn't I forget the championship? And I had to like cut a promo about
I did notice it was a according to Cagematch, it was a non-title match.
Okay, so man, this is the only time this has ever. I'm glad we're actually starting out with this because the only time this has happened in my career, I got to the show super early. Like I got to the show way before call time, and I'm just chilling. I'm like, yeah, cool. This match will be great, whatever. And then like 30 minutes before the actual match, the show's already started at this point. I look at my bag and I realize that the belt is back home, and I'm like, oh my god, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I can't believe the one thing you had to do. Like, so thinking on the fly, I want to say we had like a pillowcase that I don't even know what we put in there. We put like electrical equipment in there or something, and like brought it out with me and cut a promo about, oh, you fans aren't worthy to see me in title action. You won't even see the belt. I won't even show it to you. So this is a non-title match. And funnily enough, someone came up to me like 2 years later and was like, "Oh, I remember you were such a good heel. You wouldn't even show us the champ." I was like, "No, I didn't have that shit with me. I left it back at home." But hey, it's wrestling. You just call it on the fly, baby.
Yeah, I mean, this is your cage match, but I gotta say, in my comedy career, I've never had quite the experience that I had. That's one of the true highlights. So thank you for being part of it. There was a little girl, and I got the feeling that maybe she was a regular, and she was sitting front row, and she hated me. Like more than any heckler has ever hated me. She just despised me. And I was playing this character who's a babyface but is very unlikable. And you didn't know me, but you totally went along with it. So kudos to that. I was pretending to be an active wrestler, but then I hurt my pinky. And she was just so furious. And I kept running into her throughout the course of the day and kept trying to give her an autograph. She kept like crumbling it up and throwing it away. Do you have any Lucha Libre and Laughs? What was that exactly?
So Lucha Libre and Laughs is the brainchild of Nick Gosser, and it's a combination of wrestling and stand-up comedy, where they'll have a stand-up comedy set and then they'll have a wrestling match and back and forth. And honestly, if you're in the Denver area, it's one of the nicest, like the coolest date night you can go to, because who doesn't love stand-up? Who doesn't love wrestling? And especially a live show where you're right there in person, it's up close. I actually, since then, lost the championship, but have recently gained it back. So I'm still performing for Lucha Libre and Laughs. It's still going strong at the O Theater in Denver, and they pack a mean crowd. It's like always a really good vibe there, and they have some really good wrestling, and they have some really good comedians that come in. And I can't say enough good things. In fact, before I started wrestling, my friend Gabriel just showed up at my house random Sunday at like 10 in the morning, and he knocks on the door. I'm like, what's going on? He goes, what are you doing tonight? And I go, I don't know, probably hanging out. Like, we're going to Lucha Libre and Laughs, bitch. And I was like, what is that? That sounds great. And so I went to Lucha Libre and Laughs. After the show, I talked to the promoter, Nick, asked him where I got to go to train. He told me the butcher shop in Denver, and 2 days later, I was starting my wrestling career. So I have a deep-seated love for Lucha Libre and Laughs. It has a special place in my heart.
I remember there was a character, and I've always wanted to know the whole story about this person, an older gentleman. I want to say he had a name like the Kielbasa King or the Polish.
Oh, the Polish Prince.
Yes. Okay. Please introduce the audience to the Polish Prince.
The Polish Prince is just a psychopath. Oh man, I don't know how easy this would be to find. We might have to do this as a clip or something, or if not, just like listeners, you should find this. It's like Colt Cabana cut my promo. I don't know if it says with the Polish Prince on there, but Colt Cabana was doing this series called Cut My Promo, where you just have random like crazy people cut his promos because he didn't want to. It was real fun, and Polish Prince is just like this insane human being that just I'm the Polish Prince. I will crush your bones, Royce Isaacs, and like that's just him. Like he just is that person.
You're going against Royce Isaacs and my son, Sammy Six Guns.
No, wait, that's not the match. That's not the match at all.
All right, tell me the match.
Well, I mean, you can make it up if you want to.
Okay, let's make it up. So you're going against Pat Tanaka. Woo!
Really, Pat Tanaka?
In my country, he was nothing. We went.
Oh, you're supposed to be Polish. Oh, the Polish Prince. I get it now.
Well, you an American or you from northern Mexico? Are you wet behind the ears?
Can we use this?
I don't know what he's doing now, but he's super old, has this like Van Gogh goatee thing, so much taco meat chest hair, and I don't know like how he even got involved in wrestling. I think he's just like, actually, I think Pat Tanaka got him into wrestling, because of course, he's just like Polish Prince. You kind of just have to see him to believe him. So Colt Cabana cut my promo, Polish Prince. It's the one in Denver. It's hilarious. Like he's just like, he's not a character. He just is a character, you know?
I seen you a couple months ago, and I seen Colt Cabana practicing. And I'll tell you, he is going to take you down.
Can you talk about like the partners and stuff?
They're going to be 4. Who they could be? Who one of his friends?
Who?
You
can't promote Punk. What are you doing? He's not going to be there.
I'm talking about your friends from Chicago. Too bad you're not from the south side of Chicago.
Is it too bad?
Bad Leroy Brown was from the south side of Chicago.
I think me and Bad Leroy Brown are two completely different people.
But now we start getting on the road, and you wrestled a match in Portland. I'd say your first match against the legend. This is at the Jackson Armory. Do you remember which legend you wrestled in 2016?
Banging and banging.
That's
Gangrel,
right, Gangrel.
Yeah.
Tell me about Gangrel. He just popped up on AEW TV this week.
I think Gangrel is criminally underrated. For first of all, best entrance music of all time. I don't think that's very to me. That's like not like that's open and shut case.
Best entrance. He comes out of fire and spits blood.
Yeah, the coolest. But I think in ring he is so underappreciated, and I hope with the AEW stuff he finally gets some of his flowers because he has been really, really good for a really, really long time. I got to wrestle him actually probably at least 5 times because I was also wrestling him at this place in Vegas called Paragon Pro. And we did like a whole feud there, and then in Portland. I think those are the only 2 spots, but we had quite a few matches, and I mean he's still going at a high level. I know he had some like back issues last year, but it seems like he's on the mend and he's good to go. And yeah, I can't really say enough about like how good he is in all aspects, and how I think like underrated and underutilized he is.
You know, one of my favorite Gangrel stories, and granted, it is the brainchild of a billionaires pissing contest, whatever it is. But he was added in 2000. You know, his stock wasn't super high in WWF, but he was last minute added to a show at MSG, and was told to really do the spit routine to the crowd and get them drenched in blood. It's because they placed Donald Trump, who attended that show, right in the front row, and he was like, got like the blood sprayed on him. So that's
probably it helped his tan, right?
yeah, it just seeped in and became a part of that fake tan. All right, now let's move to some international stuff. 2017, Narimasu Act Hall. You wrestled the great Antonio Honda in what it looks like your DDT debut. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so that was like my DDT main roster debut. I had done the DDT DNA Grand Prix the year before, but that was like a week-long tour of the DNA brand, which it doesn't exist anymore, but it's like it was kind of like their young lines. A lot of their like top guys now were in there, and that was my like first DDT main roster. So my second tour, and yeah, Antonio Honda is for the people that aren't familiar with DDT. It's an amazing universe where they have some of the absolute best wrestlers in the world. Like I know Konosuke Takeshita, excuse me. I'm sure I'm going to butcher that again, but he's like really getting his just due now because he's doing an American tour and doing all these top indies and killing it, and people are seeing it. But he is there. He's like their main guy, their top guy. They have people like him. Kenny Omega came from there. Kota Ibushi came from there. They have these amazing top wrestlers, but then they also have the most zany, craziest comedy. Like there's like Danshoku Dino, who does this gimmick where he's like just like humping you in the ring and like pulling your pants down and all this craziness. And then there's like Antonio Honda always will like almost like give up, and then he'll like be like, wait, and he'll tell this story about this like little fox character that like runs along, and he'll give this whole like giant speech, and then at the end of it he'll like poke you or something like that or attack you.
And he'll have the fox puppet too.
Yes. They've had some insane, like they've had everything from Takeshita and Tetsuya Endo did a 60-minute time limit draw in Korakuen Hall. That was one of the best matches I've ever seen live. And then they've also had Danshoku Dino and this guy from Big Japan that like always pulls out a gun in the middle of the match and threatens people. They did
that's what everybody says. Why don't you just pull out a gun? Well, somebody's doing that.
It's because it's someone else's act. That's copyright infringement. So they had a match that the first person to get a boner lost. So like they're doing all this crazy like Dino's bringing out all these like women in bikinis to try to like get the other guy to crack, and then the other guy pulls out his gun and like makes one of the young boys strip down naked to get Dino to like try to crack. It was like probably the most absolutely insane. And then you have to think about that these are all in the same universe where you have some of the top wrestlers, and they're interacting with these other characters. Like it's just like it really is its own crazy universe, and it's really fun and funny and interesting, I think.
Yeah, I become a kid in the candy store when I ever try to like dive into DDT because it's just there's too much. It's so overwhelming. There's matches that take place anywhere, everywhere. It's just
I wrestled on a train, a moving train.
That's right. They have these matches on public transportation. How is that?
It was fucking crazy, dude. I don't know.
Because in Japan, you're already like an oddity. You're like a big guy or American. So you're getting eyes already, let alone being like half naked and fighting.
Yeah, and we're like all putting each other in like Boston crabs and like grabbing for like the guardrail and like that's like the rope break and like people are getting eliminated by like getting thrown off the train and then it like takes off to the next station.
That's a logistical nightmare.
Truly.
How is just adjusting to Japan? How was that?
To me, I don't think it was too bad. It was a lot of pressure, especially at that point. I was really still young in my career, but I don't know. I always kind of like live for those like sink or swim moments. So especially because I've always loved Japanese culture, and when I got into wrestling, I fell in love with Japanese wrestling. So to me, like that's always been the pinnacle, and that's always been the goal. And so I don't know. I guess it was like nerve wracking, obviously, being in a foreign land and being there for like a long time, and not being around like friends and family and people I can really communicate with well. But then you learn how to my Japanese is not good at all, but you kind of like learn how to communicate and you make these relationships with people. And I can't say enough good things. Like I had the time of my life for sure. DDT was a great promotion for me, and I always had a great time with them.
One of the most famous arenas in the world, particularly in Tokyo, is Korakuen Hall. Some people work their whole career just to get a chance to wrestle there. It's hallowed ground. You actually had the honor of winning a title at Korakuen Hall. And I have the video footage of this. You defeated Chopsticks to win the Ironman Heavy Metalweight Championship. It's much like, if you're unfamiliar, much like the 24/7 Championship. This can be defended anywhere and everywhere. I think we should just take a look with your match with Chopsticks.
Yes.
This is the champion. Yes, this is the champion. He's champion. Watch the miracle ass.
Good camera work.
Really wonderful.
Really getting in. Oh, I forgot how long this took. Yeah. There's a whole technique to it.
1.
Unbelievable.
I won the championship by killing the Chopsticks.
This belt has been held by Hall of Famers. It's been defended all across the world. How did it feel to be in the hallowed grounds? And this is your match.
I honestly, it was like a huge honor. Like I always wanted to win that championship because of its history. Because like such an eclectic group of people, like Scott Hall has held that championship, and a bunch of inanimate objects, obviously Chopsticks. And then
did Chopsticks go over? I don't know who Chopsticks beat, but did Chopsticks go over because you had sort of a match you wanted to do with Chopsticks?
So the deal was, so first of all, if you're listening to the audio or if you're not familiar with me, I happen to have a big ass. And for some reason, I think Dino just like was like, oh, we can do something with this. So I think not that long before the Antonio Honda match, I just get like a message on my Line app. It's like a messaging app, and it's like, Dino-san wants you to learn to do this. And it was a video of a guy breaking chopsticks with his ass. And so they like explain this whole miracle ass gimmick to me, and that I'd be breaking people's arms with my ass, whatever. And so we would do this like demonstration to show how the power of my ass, where every show Dino would come out, he would explain the miracle ass, everyone would be like, that's silly. He'd be like, no, watch, pull out the chopsticks, I'd break it with my ass. Some wrestler would be like, that's preposterous. And I'd grab him and I'd break his arm. And so it was like a whole thing, but I kept doing the chopsticks thing before every show. And then one of the person that held before the chopsticks was this Joshi named Yu, and she's really, really talented. And she basically had been running around, because the 24/7 belt, like you explained, she'd been running around really trying to avoid all challengers to hold on to the belt, and she hadn't slept in days. And so eventually she runs into the locker room. She's like, all right, I'm safe. She has a little meal. You get the itis after you have a meal. She gets a little tired, passes out. The chopsticks happen just to fall on top of her. She's laid there, passed out. The ref comes in, 1, 2, 3. Chopsticks wins. That's my blood feud, obviously. I kill Chopsticks. I win the championship. And then I had the honor, because of that, I got to, a few matches later was the scramble match for the championship. So I got to actually enter Korakuen Hall as the champion. Unfortunately, I did not win. I did not leave the champion. But I want to say, like, the title changed hands like 6 times in that match or something like that.
Yeah.
So
it actually, Antonio Honda defeated you. Yoshihiko, one of our favorites,
Yes.
another inanimate winner. Kazuki Harada, Yuni, Makoto Oishi, Miyu Yamashita, Ichiko Harada, Diego, Dick Togo, and Colt Cabana all won the title that same night. Now, this could have been your Shockmaster moment, because you could have shown up and there could have been like a pair of steel or plastic, even plastic chopsticks.
Yeah.
That could have fucked your whole run. It could have been like if Iron Sheik broke Hulk's leg.
I mean, yeah, somehow I managed to, I probably had to break like at least 20 different chopsticks over my whole time, like on all these like shows at least. And I managed to always break them. There was like a whole specific technique to it that I had to learn of how to position myself and how to position the chopsticks, but luckily I was a perfectionist about it, got it down, and that's why you practice. You practice how you play, and you practice hard.
2018, you wrestled in a different foreign country at the Auditorio de Tijuana. You had a series of matches. One of them was Danny Limelight and Eli Everfly. Danny Limelight, somebody you work with closely now, against Douglas James and yourself on the losing end. But tell me what it's like to work in Tijuana.
Yeah, I think I've had a really lucky experience in that. My international experience has mostly been in Japan and Mexico, where they have a really, really high regard for wrestling, like culturally. So it's always really cool because they treat you really like an athlete, and like I don't know. I think in America it's a little bit like it's like thought of kind of like a trashy sport, versus like over there there's like a deep respect for it. And I had a really good time. Both in Japan and in Mexico. I just thought the fans down there are rabid. They want high-paced action. They demand it, and if you rise to the occasion, they'll really give it to you. I've had a few experiences in Mexico, and the fans are always really, really into it, and the food's always really good, and it's always a great time.
Do you take in some of the Tijuana nightlife when you're down there?
No, we went right back across the border. Maybe one of these days, but I don't know. It can be a little sketchy, especially if you don't. I don't know the right areas to hang out in and whatnot. But the arena itself is amazing, and the talent on those kind of cards are always great.
Let's move to the Bay Area. At the Metro Opera House, you took part in a Hood Slam show where you teamed with your partner Jarrell Nelson against Ricky Lake and Sally Jesse Raphael.
Yes, the Stoner Brothers.
Okay, yeah. This is Rick Scott Stoner and Scott Rick Stoner.
Yes.
Why were they named after 90s talk show hosts?
So Hood Slam is a great show. They've been running for years now, and they always pack a crazy crowd.
That's a lot like Lucha Libre and Laughs. I think there's a lot of non-fans that.
Yeah, it's like just like an Oakland event. Like people just go to that to like party and hang out and have a good time. There's a lot of craziness. Like a lot of like out of this world kind of gimmicks, and there's a lot of really crazy action happening, and it's like a really good vibe. And I always love doing Hood Slam. So they have once a year. It's been a minute because they've been a little bit less regular since the pandemic. Although they're running again. But I think February they used to do a show called Femmed Out. And so all the wrestlers, all the male wrestlers would wrestle in drag, and it was like a show support. It was like a show support for women, and like Hood Slam's one of their big things is being like very about acceptance and including everyone in wrestling. And I thought it was a great time. I thought me and Jarrell looked dead sexy. There's a picture somewhere on my Instagram if you scroll around there, and. Yeah, we wrestled Ricky Lake and what was the other
Sally Jesse Raphael.
Yeah, that was good. And I don't even know if you can like find the footage because it was like on Twitch, and I don't think they do their Twitch anymore unless they uploaded it to YouTube. But like we had a whole like talk show segment before where they were like interviewing us, and it was like
I looked.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it's lost time. Maybe somebody can show it to us. But let's move on to Illinois. The NWA World Tag Team Championship is on the line at ROH CMLL Global Wars. You're teaming with Thomas Latimer against Brody King and PCO, and you walk out the NWA World Tag Team Champions. Tell me about this.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy experience. Like Brody and PCO were on this really, really hot run. The ROH titles, the NWA titles, and I think they were like just one of the hottest tag teams around at that point. And especially to go into enemy territory and win the titles like that was a pretty crazy experience, you know. Yeah, like it was. Ring of Honor is like one of those places that, you know, I'm glad that Tony Khan has bought them and they're back, but they were like such stalwarts for years. Like it was such a historic company. And so to be there and to be, you know, in Chicago, which has a rich history with wrestling, and to get to do something like that was, I don't know, it felt like a pretty crazy milestone in my career for sure.
PCO, just from his social media presence, is so supremely weird.
Yes.
What is he like backstage?
The same. He is insane. Yeah, he's a crazy guy, but he's been really good at wrestling for decades now, and you know, he's earned the right to be a psycho.
Yeah. I remember when somebody was mentioning PCO on Chris Jericho's podcast, and they're like, yeah, it's Pierre Carl Ouellet. He's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You know, he's doing all these insane moves, just like flat back bumps off the top rope to the floor.
To the apron, to the floor.
Yeah.
He's got a glass eye. Like, he only has one eye and he's doing all this stuff.
Yeah. And then he's always getting electrocuted on his days off.
Yeah.
This obviously transitions into the National Wrestling Alliance. You had a match NW World Tag Team title match on the second episode of NWA Power. You team with Thomas Latimer against Eddie Kingston and Homicide at the GPB Studios in Atlanta. How is studio wrestling?
I thought I had a really good experience with it. I had done a little bit of studio wrestling for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in a similar sense, but those days were really, really crazy because we were doing multiple days in a row of these like really long tapings. But the NW fan base was like really rabid, and it made things, I think, a lot easier for us because when you can feed off that energy of the crowd, I think it makes things it makes it translate to camera better, but it also translates the actual energy of the match. So like it would be very easy for studio wrestling to be bad if you don't have a good crowd, or if it's like a quiet crowd, or if there's not a lot of people there. But back when I was there, at least from my experience, there was always a packed crowd, and they were always from the first bell until like 5 hours later. It didn't matter how tired they were; they weren't a tired crowd. They were there for everything.
At Daly's Place in Jacksonville, the Varsity Blondes against yourself and Jarrell Nelson. This is the pandemic era of wrestling.
Yes.
It's not. You had a bunch of these matches on AEW Dark. What was it like wrestling there?
Yeah, no, that was a really my 2020 was really tough, obviously with the pandemic, and then once I like things kind of shut down for everyone, and then I asked for my release, got my release from NWA, and then I only wrestled like one match the rest of 2020. So coming out of that, I got on Bloodsport at the beginning of the year, and then the next thing was these AEW tapings. So it was like I was starting to finally get some momentum, and it was like, oh wow, this is also a huge stage. And then also it's like there's no crowd, and it's the weird. It's like, okay, this is a huge opportunity, let's go. And then also like it's kind of really surreal and strange, But I had a really good time in Jacksonville. I think now that like fans and crowds are back, it'd be really hard to go back to that because it was so weird. Like it just now, like when you watch those matches back and there's like no real sound and it's just like kind of a really weird like moment in time of wrestling. But I will say AEW took care of us really well. They paid us really well. Like we got to do some really cool matches. We got to wrestle FTR. I got to have a match actually tagging with Danny Limelight against Moxley and Kingston. So I had a great time.
Next, let's talk about New Japan Strong. This past month, you had Team Filthy. That's yourself, Danny Limelight, Jarrell Nelson, JR Kratos, and Filthy Tom Lawler against David Finlay, Fred Rosser, Tangaloa, the DKC, and Yuya Uemura. Great match. Is this your pay-per-view debut? This is a pay-per-view?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I guess you've done the NWA ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's certain promotions that technically run like internet pay-per-views or whatever, but I would certainly say it was for sure, bar none, the biggest wrestling pay-per-view I had done at that point. Doing a pay-per-view, and it's like when you're doing the pay-per-view, yes, it's New Japan Strong, but that's a New Japan pay-per-view. That's not, you know what I mean? Like it's like when you look at the card, that's a New Japan card, and then there's also Strong Talent on it. So it's like high pressure. It's crazy. There were some absolutely amazing matches that night. I'm really glad we got to be a part of that. And apparently, it seemed like it was really well received. I know, I don't read all the comments, but it seemed like people online tended to really like it. And yeah, being in the LA Coliseum was pretty wild. Like we were, a couple 100 feet from like the locker room. You come out, and if you went to the right, there was the stadium was literally right there, like the stands and everything. And then if you go to the left, that's where the entrance was to the ring. So yeah, no, that was that was a really cool experience. And like I think like it was kind of crazy because that Friday, the day before, Jarrell, my tag partner, had dislocated his shoulder in the match. So he's like fighting through that, and it's like, let's, we got this, let's go. He's like nursing that, we're fighting through it, and then, yeah, like being in that environment. I think if there's any hip hop heads out there, I want to say one of the members of Griselda, I think maybe like Benny the Butcher or something like that, was in the crowd, like front row or something like that. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, these LA shows, I'm sure Championship Wrestling from Hollywood was the same. You really never know who's going to show up. I remember seeing Glenn Danzig at GCW and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. Who's like the craziest person? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, there's like a photo from one of the blood sports in LA that's like Josh Barnett, Minoru Suzuki, and Glenn Danzig. And I'm like, that's quite the trio,
Unbelievable.
And I think Ryan Keeley, the adult film, the hotel documentary actress, was also there. It was like, what is this locker room? This is crazy.
Yeah. Who do you have like a memory of like, oh, I'm wrestling in front of this person?
Oh snap.
Or even like, would that get in your head? Is it like, just like
no, I don't think so. I feel like there's someone recently that I somehow am blanking on, but I've had a show where Becky Lynch was front row. I've had a show where actually regularly at West Coast Pro, Lars from Rancid usually goes to those shows. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like recently, I want to say someone was like, "Oh, so and so's in the crowd," but I don't know. I'm drawing a blank right now. But yeah, I mean, that is one thing that I think is pretty different in Denver that like just happens out here in LA a lot, which is pretty cool. Although now that I say that, when I was like the most green still, like I barely was getting on shows in Denver. This is like 2015 probably. 2014 or 2015, and I was on a show in Golden, Colorado, and I looked out into the crowd, and this is at least a couple of years before she got into wrestling. Shayna Baszler was in the crowd, and I want to say maybe like Marina or something. She was with one of the other like Four Horsewomen or whatever. I was like, oh snap, that's Shayna, who we actually then had our WWE tryout in 2016 together.
Wow, yeah. How is that? Is that just like thrilling, or is it nerve-wracking, or is it kind of a combination of everything?
Both, yeah, absolutely. It was pretty crazy, and I think that I was definitely too green and not ready for that kind of a responsibility yet. So like things happen for a reason. I want to say like I had that, and then I had a week, and then I had my first DDT tour right after that. And I think if they had been flipped, maybe I would have handled the pressure a little bit better because I would have been. Okay, I just came out of a super high pressure situation and also wrestling these amazing wrestlers in Japan. Now I can hit, but at the same time, if I had gotten signed to WWE back then, I don't know if it would have like worked out better for my career. I might have gotten signed, done nothing, gotten dropped, and then just been like, I guess I'm done with this. Versus kind of this like slow, steady climb. I've gotten to have this really, I think, eclectic and interesting career, and it's made me really appreciate where I am now, versus just like having like a faster meteoric rise or whatever.
Yeah, and the next month is going to be very interesting in the world of wrestling. Forbidden Doors coming up. You're part of New Japan Strong. Yeah, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. If something crazy happened, we recorded this before Double or Nothing, but there's just interesting stories flying around.
Yes,
but now let's transition into some of these clips because you sent some of my favorite clips. This is our segment we call Big Show and Tell. All right, so you sent this great Scott Steiner promo.
Yes.
Do you want to set this up? Do you want to give the storyline context?
So, okay, I guess this is how I'll set this up. I might be the world's biggest Scott Steiner fan, and that's like the totality of his career. Like, to me, the Steiner brothers are the best tag team of all time, and I don't know what other argument. Like, if you have a different one, that's fine. You're allowed to, think otherwise. But I don't think there's any tag team that even comes close. The athleticism that he displayed early in his career was absolutely insane. He was doing this crazy, innovative stuff no one else was doing. And then you have like his later career where he is an absolute psychopath doing all this crazy stuff on the microphone. And he's just like, he's like demolishing a Shoney's, it's the overall entertainment of his entire career is just like absolutely wild to me. And I got to tag team with him at NWA, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, how was that?
It was absolutely insane, but it was absolutely wonderful and a dream come true. And you can see I'm just like cheesing on the sidelines there, like, oh my God, this is happening. So
he's
the
fun
man
to watch even now. Yeah. All right, so let's take a look
at pure entertainment.
Absolutely. And this is that period of Scott Steiner's career when he was like, you know what? Let me lean into this. So
he's just going crazy, saying crazy stuff. It's awesome.
And I'm gonna quiz you to see if you could tell me what he said.
And I know for a fact you're not going to lay down for this guy.
That's right, Mean Gene. I don't lay down for nobody. And whether I leave here world champion tonight, it don't matter because it's not going to change my focus on getting even with Goldberg for fracturing my face. And a fall ball, Goldberg, I'm going to get even with you for fracturing my face, and I'm going to prove to you that I'm the man with the largest arms in the world. I'm the genetic freak, and size does matter. But that statement, Mean Gene, comes true whether I'm in the ring or out of the ring. See, when I have my freaks horizontal, they understand size. They appreciate size.
Wait, what did he say?
When I have my freaks horizontal, they understand size. They appreciate size.
Okay.
And size does matter. And they know that they don't have to wait for the Earth to rotate on a 47-degree axis so the stars can touch the sky and create an equinox so they can see the Big Dipper.
All right, what was that?
You don't have to wait for the Earth to rotate at a 47-degree axis and the stars to align and form an equinox to see the Big Dipper.
He's a poet.
No. All they gotta do is call the Big Papa, because I'm the man with the Big Dipper, and satisfaction's coming when I go behind and do the bump and grind. And it's only a matter of time because they call me the Big Bad Booty Daddy. So Goldberg, realize this, I only care about two things in this world, my freaks and my peaks. And when I beat your bald ass down at Fall Brawl, and I'm about to put you in the Steiner recliner, I'm going to whisper in your ear, size does matter, bitch.
Jesus fucking Christ.
It's the greatest promo. They aired that on television. It's absolutely insane.
At what point in your career, if ever, do you think you'd get to the point where you're just like, I'm going to start cutting promos about my Big Dipper and fucking doing the horizontal freak or whatever?
Next Lucha Libre and Laughs, June 24th. I actually, funnily enough, so when I first started out, for a while I did bleach blonde hair, and part of the reason I did that was one of the shows that I was on, this smaller regional show, they would do a Halloween show where it would be like, obviously we're still ourselves, but you would like cosplay, you dress up as someone else. And I wrestled as Scott Steiner, and I was like, oh, I kind of like the blonde. But after the match, so I basically did like a Steiner match with this guy who was wrestling as like MVP. And after the match, I got on the microphone and I cut that promo like word for word, and the crowd ate it up. I was like, this is why you cut promos about the Big Dipper. They like this.
Unbelievable. That's incredible. Yeah, he doesn't get the credit because they are unhinged and they are crazy, and a lot of times he's not making total sense. But he makes sense more of the time than people give him credit for.
He there's something there that he like makes more sense, and also like I don't know. I think that he doesn't get enough credit for like. There's a lot of people that can do the more straight guy stuff. There's a lot of people that can do some like more comedy stuff. There's a lot of people that can be like tough guys. there's not a lot of people that have had careers where they've been to the extremes of all of those things. They've been to the top of tag team wrestling. They've been to the top of singles wrestling. I think for whatever reason, he's just not in like the cool kids club, quote unquote, of like some of these other guys that do get their reverence and whatever. And I think Steiner like legitimately really should be held in a much higher regard than he is.
This is one of my favorite clips. This is him on the short-lived TNA offshoot Ring Ka King. Oh no, let me find this. Yeah, doing the full Bruiser Brody, terrifying human beings.
Oh my God! ये क्या हो रहा है? मुझे विश्वास ही नहीं हो रहा। स्कॉट स्टाइनर जानवर बन गए हैं।
पब्लिक ने लगता है कि इतना गुस्सा दिला दिया है कि अब इनके सामने जो भी आए उसकी खेल नहीं।
टाटा प्राइमा प्रेजेंट्स रिंग का किंग 28 जनवरी से हर
Unbelievable. He's a master of the craft.
For real.
Another master of the craft. This is a clip you sent me. Is the Dirt Bike Kid. Dirt Bike Kid.
I think you said he's the master. Yes, he is the master of the craft. Legend, Dirt Bike Kid.
Yeah, you might know him from wearing full dirt bike gear in the ring. He has had a legendary feud with Sabu, and he also had this match with the great Sasuke. So let's talk about this match because it is one of the more legendary shoots in wrestling.
Yeah, so I could be wrong. From what I understand, is basically this is Dirt Bike Kid's big opportunity. They sent him to Japan, and he's going to do this match with Great Sasuke. And I don't know if he thought he was going to win or like what is I'm not sure exactly what he thought was going on or what was going to happen. But he was apparently really upset about the match and proceeds to kind of just go into business for like you'll see he just does all this shit at the start. There's our hero. Look at him. Woo! Fucking
not just crazy. Full dirt. If you're not watching this, if you're listening on the podcast, he's not just in full like dirt bike gear. He's got like the accoutrements too. He's got goggles and like plastic. I don't
he's
know
got the serious like I'm gonna do like a giant jump like dirt bike stuff. Like I need to protect all my like. It's like a full chest protector. Like. Yeah. Like the knee gimmicks, like it's crazy, and he's got a mask thing. Yeah,
when you're in a ring with somebody who's dressed like a ninja and you look like the silly one,
real talk. And then he refuses to go down for Sasuke's finish, so Sasuke makes a new finish on the fly. It's quite nice.
Yeah, this is Jason Harrison, also known as the Heart Attack Kid or the Shark Attack Kid.
Shark Attack Kid. You know more about him than me. That's crazy. Yeah, I wasn't super aware of his career. I think this was kind of like the end of it, though. I assume like he was kind of done after this.
Yeah, this is a match in Michinoku Pro. That's I'm not the technique expert like you are, but
I mean he's obviously like a talented guy. I think it's more of like a I don't know attitude kind of issue and. He's just trying to do his thing here. Now, Sasuke, that's the spinning kick, and he's supposed to be dead.
Yeah. I'm trying to get to the, So this is the kick.
Yep. And he won't go down for it. He's like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Now, is he just green, or is he like really?
No, he doesn't want to. Yeah, so if that's the case, if you don't want to, I guess you can just get kicked in the face for real, and that doesn't feel too great, does it?
Yeah, and Sasuke's not like an unsafe worker, He's not a big guy. He's not a bully.
He's tough, and if you're gonna just not go along with things, then you can get choked out for real. And he's really he's like, oh no, oh sorry, held on to that choke for quite some time.
Keith Elliott Greenberg told us that back in the day, that sort of that choke, that That is
guillotine.
What, yeah, that is what they tell the guys, that whenever somebody would question legitimacy of wrestling, you throw them in that and they pass out. That's how Richard Belzer got.
I was gonna say
cracked. Yeah.
Hulk Hogan. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, you like the funny, like, I don't know. Obviously, Hulk has, he's done some fucked up shit, but outside of that, just the Belzer incident alone, just talking about that, I think he got a lot of flack and was demonized for that. But it's like, you're gonna talk all this shit about, oh, wrestling's fake, all this stuff. It's like, well, how do you expect someone to react if someone came to your job and shit all over it or you were on national TV and someone's shitting all over your job, and you're just supposed to sit there and like, oh yeah, no, okay, great, it's fake. It's like, well, you get put in a hold and then you get choked out and then you're gonna be the victim. Like, I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, messing with people's lives, and he won a lawsuit and got his own house that he called Shea Hogan or something.
Yeah, and he went on to be a character on Law and Order, SVU, or whatever, and good for him, but scummy to me.
Obviously we lost great Sasuke. We're watching his funeral. There is a really great Sasuke documentary on YouTube that just shows him. He got into a career in politics, and there's just him like vacuuming with his mask on at home. Like going door to door in his small town that's like 3 hours north of Tokyo or something. But here we're looking at his funeral. We've got Brandon Niwa also wearing his mask.
Yes.
Have you seen this?
I don't think I have, or if it's been a while, if so.
Yeah, and we've got various dignitaries of different promotions coming to pay their respects. We got Gedo and Jado here. This is one of my favorite weird in Japan clips. I never quite knew the context. I don't think I needed to. We were lighting our cigarettes with the candles here. This is an all-star showing.
Honestly, yeah.
Sasuke's funeral. Who would you, if you had the choice? We've got coming up here, Gran Hamada, Ayako Hamada. Who would you like to be at your wrestling funeral?
Oof, that's a good question.
Scotty is going to deliver a eulogy, of course.
Yeah, I definitely want him to deliver a eulogy where he somehow, he's talking about his Big Dipper and fucking his freaks, and then brings it back to, but like, we're all really sorry about Royce, and we're here to pay our respects. I think Dak Draper would definitely be there. I think obviously Jarrell Nelson, my tag team partner, would have to be there. It'd be cool if we could get Gangrel to maybe he could do his entrance and spit blood on my coffin or something.
Is this going to be are you Catholic? Are you Jewish? Are you agnostic? Because we might have a crucifix situation that we want to avoid.
I'm Jewish, but my mom's Jewish. My dad's Catholic. I'm Jewish, but so we could do like a half and half. But yeah, I don't know how Gangrel's going to feel about that. So maybe we'll just go with yeah, we'll just go with the Jewish funeral then.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. You should ask every wrestler. Oh, you should ask every wrestler who their 6 pallbearers would be. That would be a good wrestling.
Yeah.
Like who your wrestling pallbearers would be.
Ricky Fuji has some words to say.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Cannon by Ricky Fuji. He's gonna throw that cross up.
Oh man, that is wonderful.
Yeah, and would you have the Mr. Pallbearer? Would he be running the services in your ideal world?
Oh man, that would actually be pretty amazing. I mean, because he like actually could do that. Like that was his actual job for a while. So
I think there's a choice though if you want Percy Pringle to run the service or if you want Paul Bearer to run the service. Because Paul Bearer is just going to be staring at the corpse, weirding out your family.
Me personally, I would go with Paul Bearer, but you know that's because it would be more entertaining.
Yeah,
and you only get one funeral, so you might as well make it fun.
Well, Great Sasuke made this funeral fun. Let's tune in. Everyone's crying. Everyone's so sad. I don't know what Grenini was doing exactly there. But he's paying his respect. Again, we have dignitaries from all the Japanese promotions labeled as such. And I'm sorry to end the show on this sad clip.
Oh, snap! He's up.
Can you translate that?
No, I can't.
Oh, and now we have the legend Antonio Inoki making his presence known.
Oh my god.
He's obviously, not the imposing figure he used to be. And obviously showing the respect. Would you get in the Inoki slap line?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, same. No idea what's going on.
What a segment. That's, you know what? I like that was like the, I feel like that was the Japanese answer to like every like wrestling wedding segment. That's like always kind of like ridiculous and then like it gets ruined and whatever. Like I kind of like that better because like a wedding, you're like, oh no, it's ruined. Now it's kind of like sad, but like a funeral getting ruined by Great Sasuke actually being alive is like, oh, it's ruined. Oh, but that means like he's still alive, so that's cool, you know?
Yeah, I mean that was not the actual Antonio Inoki. That was a smaller.
No, did not have the chin.
It was a small Antonio Inoki, but not the small Antonio Inoki that we've talked about on the show, Antonio Koinoki. That was just another guy. There's multiple small Antonio Inokis running around Japan, but Inoki already had his funeral, so maybe this is something that you can consider. Just as you climb the ranks, earn that respect. Maybe adopt the slap line, adopt the pre-death funeral. You've got the career for it. So I'd like to thank you for being on Wrestling Club.
No, thank you for welcoming me to the club. As I said, this is like the only club I belong to, so it's really
don't
quite
tell
the honor.
Tom Lawler that. What would he wear to your funeral? What is his?
He'd have Daisy Dukes for sure.
Yeah.
It'd be some like Daisy Dukes with some kind of like string tassels attached or something like that. Yeah. Oh man, Tom, I would also like if we could somehow transition from like Scott gives like a first speech and then Tom gives a second speech. That would actually probably be pretty ideal because Tom is definitely a master of the microphone. And Team Filthy leader, salute.
All right. Well, do you have any shows you want to plug? Any matches that you're excited about?
No, I just New Japan Strong, New Japan Strong, New Japan Strong. If you're not catching New Japan Strong, then I think you're really missing out because I think it's probably the most underrated product going in wrestling right now. this locker room works its ass off. There are some really insanely talented, hardworking guys, and I think the product speaks for itself. If you give it a try, I think you'll be hooked. So, it's on Fight. It's on New Japan World. Check it out. New Japan Strong is what I'm all about, and I'm going to keep representing for New Japan Strong. And now I sound like a broken record, but I really passionately feel that way. So, thank you for having me on, and it's really nice to kind of I don't stop and smell the roses enough, I feel like, in my career, but it's nice to look back and to kind of be reminded of some of this really cool stuff that's happened along the way.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Your career is so impressive, and you're just starting still. So I'm really excited to see what's coming your way.
Hey, thanks so much, Brett. Appreciate you, brother.
The Wrestling Club with Darren and Brett. We've got a show that you'll never forget.